Good point. I was distracted for a minute there.
No worries.
All right, so it is 7:03 or so. We'll start the August 20th, 2025 Planning Commission regular meeting. And we'll call to order. We'll do a roll call starting from my right. Pete?
Pete Halleck, present.
Linda Novak, present.
Stuart Wooters, present.
Paul Brinkman, present.
Okay, thank you for being here. With four planning commissioners, we do have quorum, so we can meet still. We hope that those that are not here are doing well and feel well, feel better soon as well, if that be the case. So let's go ahead and look at the adopting of the agenda. I don't have anything additional to add from the last council meeting. Other than I might ask, I'll ask for a quick update on the master plan status for during my time. Unless there's something else that needs to be added, can I get a motion to accept the agenda as currently?
I'll move to accept the agenda as
Second.
currently written.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Do we need to review or update or change anything from the minutes from July 16th? Plan Commission meeting?
I did not see anything of note that needs to be addressed.
So I had one, page 3, under A, third bullet point, Halleck comments that legally non-conforming fences should be able to not follow the laws. I would, I guess, feel that that should say, should be exempt, and rather than not follow the laws, should be,
So cross off able to not follow the laws and exempt.
should be exempted. Yeah, just exempted would be, okay.
Because that's exactly what legally non-conforming is.
It just sounds better.
Yeah, it
Doesn't
does.
it?
Yes, I don't want anything to not, I don't want to break laws, but, I guess,
It just sounds.
there was a typo on there somewhere, anyone else catch that?
Where it goes.
So, finished property, garden.
I see one.
Okay, what?
C, commissioners, first bullet point, Sally agreed that is a problem, and Novak expressed an increased enforcement. I think that there's a word missing, of people.
I think you're right.
Maybe expressed an interest in increased enforcement of people
Okay,
encroaching.
we'll do an interest.
I don't know if the right wording though is people encroaching on the
Yeah.
property. I think it's something other than people's
I don't think
encroaching.
people can encroach.
No.
No, it's a,
I think people can trespass.
not encroaching, it's,
I mean, there's trespass, right? But because encroaching means that you're getting up to and close to. I think
Right.
Yeah, I think trespassing is the,
I think trespassing,
yeah,
Okay, so insert interest in increased enforcement of people trespassing
yeah.
on the property or just trespassing?
interest in enforcement. It shouldn't be enforcement of.
Interest in.
Enforcement
Enforcement
against people
yeah.
against,
trespassing?
on the property or just trespassing period?
I mean, on the property is redundant because trespass usually means that you're
Okay,
where we're not supposed to be.
we're in a space. Yeah.
okay.
Does that seem fair to reflect more what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a typo Underneath that, just Sarah's name is spelled incorrectly, her last name. Under E,
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That might have been it.
Okay.
Motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. All right, so, we'll now, move to the official reports. Council liaison is not here today, but I'm probably doing something a little more important with his family on the Village Green. I think that is right within his purview to spend time with his family on such a great activity.
Does that mean we should all go?
We should
to
all,
that
we,
right now? All right.
well, I went earlier, so.
Me too.
But no, I think it makes perfect sense. So for me, for my report as chairperson, we had a good council meeting from a planning perspective. They were appreciative of, and we were called out for by Trustee Ferris on our efforts with the HDC. And they're pleased that we're working together with them on trying to be more unified in our decision-making, and for the ordinances in the R3 district, and taking into account their perspective in writing these ordinances. And then I was also asked the pivotal question that happens periodically, which is the status of the master plan. And so it has been submitted from my understanding, because I've seen emails saying so. I don't know, you probably all
I
got
got
the
the
same.
mail.
Yep, got it in
I
the mail.
signed it.
So good. So how many more days do we need?
October 14th.
October 14th. Now, I will say that City of Southfield has retaliated by sending us a letter to review theirs. So we have a master, so anyone that's interested in looking at the master plan for the City of Southfield, they are welcome to go to southfieldDDA.com and look for their strategic plan that they're trying to get approved. So that it is the amendment. It is comments need to be submitted by no later than Monday the 5th at October 13th for Southfield. But if you're looking to see what we did and looking to see look at ours, I believe it's posted on our website for the village. But also look at Southfield, what they're doing. They're a bigger entity. And when we go to do this round again in the future, participate. Read what our communities around us are doing, and see if their vision aligns with ours, and if we are missing the mark, then let us know. So that would be great input from our community, from our neighbors. All right, commissioners, those are my comments for tonight.
No comments, but question, because I was not able to make it. Is there a report from the historic meeting that you guys did on the 6th?
Oh, yes. So we'll discuss those in the old business. I think they'll come up naturally,
Okay.
organically.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to, yeah, sorry I couldn't make that. I had issues, had to take care of.
Oh, appreciate it. All right.
Zoning.
Zoning, yes.
We did have a zoning meeting last month and had an interesting meeting about giving a variance for grading on a property, which eventually did pass. And we have another one tomorrow night, which is giving me some food for thought at tonight's meeting that I'll bring
Okay.
up at a more appropriate time.
So just a question for grading wise, I know that property watershed is not to be changed by any construction. Typically also the county encourages, as well as the state of Michigan encourages not to change water flow. So from a grading standpoint, was it affecting that?
No, it was not watershed property. And our goal was strictly to discuss the variance and the water flow will still need to be, examined by the engineers, but basically it was a property that in some places had a 40% grade that had to be reduced to 5%, but it was not in an area that
Okay.
we,
Like a hilly spot,
Very,
do some
yeah.
terracing or something?
yeah,
Okay.
kind of, yeah.
All right.
So can we go back to commissioners?
Yeah,
real
sure.
quick?
I didn't
So-
see you.
You know, I had asked about this parking survey, and Heather had done the courtesy of providing this to us. Oh, hello. That's, Franklin wants to be part of the show here. You know, this came onto the scene just about when I was joining the planning commission in 2011. And, you know, it was a really thorough parking study. And, in my opinion, it's one of the keys to the success of our businesses in the village, and gets to the key issue of, you know, the life of our little downtown. You know, how much parking we would need to have to make the businesses successful. And it's really, it covers all the bases. It's got diagrams for each side, east and west side of Franklin Road. It offers some suggestions for expanding parking, emphasizes the shared parking component, and does, you know, outline some things for Main Street Franklin, to try to spearhead. I guess that's really the challenge. And, you know, I think there can be a role for the village facilitating communication between building owners to encourage shared parking to the benefit of everybody and increasing their property values. I think there's no question that their property values would go up if the walkability and the parking were optimized. So I hope this can remain something that is prominent on everybody's agenda, I guess, personal agenda. And in a related note, and I think, Linda, you know about this, there was a Nextdoor posting where someone lamented that our little downtown, you know, why aren't people doing more about helping our little downtown? And, you know, we have some great things going on, so it's not, we have a lot of vacancies, you know, in my, you know, purely observational level. You can see there's a lot of vacancies, and there's still deficient properties not maximized. And it probably had like 50 comments or something by the end of it. A lot of comments, and a lot of good ones. You know, I'm looking at who is this person who really understands the importance of walkability, of parking. Turns out it's the mayor of Birmingham, Rick Nikita or something. And he, you know, people were saying, well, retail is dead. You know, it's just such a hard thing to do. And he was really adamant that, you know, it can be done. And there were a lot of people who said, look, I really miss, I would make my trip into Franklin every couple weeks, you know, go to the little market. And, you know,
You said right there, that was the main
Right.
draw, was the market.
sure,
That's what the main draw was.
yeah,
Because
no
then
doubt
you're down
about
here in
it.
the market, oh, you know what, we get some coffee after I go to the market real quick.
Yeah,
Can we do it at public comments? Is that all right? If that's all right. Thank you.
but yeah, the, you know, and I've heard, you know, well, the day has come for these markets to go away, but there's a future version of retail, and people will always like to go to cider mills and little historic towns. And, you know, we've talked about some of the possibilities of expanded walkways into some of the river areas, you know, more of a relationship with the cider mill too. They have some incredible historic treasures behind their building as well that sit hidden back there. And You know, people could do quite a nice loop all the way around, down the river behind the buildings, river behind the Franklin Cider Mill, and, you know, be doing it without inundating the village with too much traffic. You know, that's where the parking and the walking paths really come in. So, that's my little spiel on this parking study. And
Do you have a copy, can we get a copy of that parking study?
so it's available, you can print it out in your email, right?
Okay.
I can make you copies.
But that's where I got this, right? I printed it, so it's in, it's,
I've got a printer. I go to the office and I print at the office, that's about it.
Okay.
I can't print personal stuff.
right, right.
So, all right,
But it's
we'll,
really-
we'll send you an email so you can have access to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also want to recognize trustee Sally, our council liaison, here. And then also trustee Seltzer is here as a member of the public. Not representing council in this game, but trustee Sally is representing council for us. And I don't have a budget expense report for, it's the new year.
I don't have access.
Okay, so I'm hoping next month we'll be able to catch up on, we'll see.
It'll be a couple months.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
No, I just want to make sure we keep our eye on the ball with our budget, so. Okay, so then we'll move on from budget and expense report, and go to public comments. So please, if anything, the comments that we made, you'd like to make comments on, or something else that's not on the agenda, you're welcome to making comments.
Hi there,
Hello.
Michael Seltzer. I don't have my address memorized because I don't memorize rental address. With Franklin and with Winston. I wanted to reference what Pete.
He has to give his address, as we all do.
I wanted to reference what Pete was saying.
He's not allowed to speak.
I'm sorry, so I understand your point of view. I know that he lives in the village,
He doesn't.
and
He has to provide his address that he lives
I don't
in.
remember my address. Thank you.
So-
I'm speaking now.
He just signed the lease as his.
we can request, we can,
The village.
members of the
attorney
village
has
that are
my
interested can
address.
look it up later.
Village address is known to the. Anyway, I'd like to say the following about what Pete was referencing. It is important that we on council who have suffered so often from misinformation and slander on Nextdoor recognize very few people really pay attention to Nextdoor because it's filled with that kind of nonsense.
Yeah,
We're all aware of that.
Yeah.
I was the member of the community that responded to that individual, Eunice Ring, on Nextdoor, for the express purpose of establishing the facts, because that's often not the case. People make assumptions and assertions and so on.
Right.
And it's troubling to us on council. We've been suffering with the loss of the market basket for decades and still get criticized for losing that property. You know, as government, we have nothing to do with landlord-tenant disputes. And we are obviously being blamed for things that people can't possibly know anything about. In the case of all the vacancies in the village, unfortunately, we have some very difficult landlords, and they're known to many of us. And most of them have legacy buildings, they live out of state, they don't really care that much. And so it's very hard to negotiate fairly with landlords like that. So it's unfortunate, but I think the picture that was repainted in my comments was that we're doing a lot to try to resurrect what we once had. We obviously have a difficult task before us because we've lost our entire staff. That has to do nothing to do with me personally, but it's been characterized as a problem in the community and nobody really understands completely what it's about. Those who know, know. The bottom line is that we are very pleased to have had a major grand opening in the village just a couple weeks ago, and it was the Judaic Art Studio. And I want to speak to that because that was probably the most momentous grand opening I've ever been to. I've cut a lot of ribbons in this community in my 30 years, but this was a very important one. And the fact that we had to be guarded by police for the 2 hours during that grand opening and ribbon cutting shouldn't be lost on any of us. That we had a new business that we should be celebrating, and we had a survivor of October 7th speaking to the community. And this was a young man who went through the horrific and heinous behavior on October 7th and lost his wife of 5 years. So he was here to speak to the community, and we had to have police protection. And so I just think that's notable. I've mentioned that in a couple of places recently, and I think it's important for people to know. But we are doing everything we can do in the community to bring business back. And the Jay Farner experience is a great one for this community. He's very devoted, very dedicated, and we're proud to have him and his entire organization. So,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And
Thank
just-
you.
Just as an aside on that, I actually, it was a great interaction because I had responded to Eunice Ring on that, and she called me. So we had a really nice conversation about, what's going on and, talked about this event tonight and kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And, I encouraged her. She's somebody that's lived in Franklin for a long time and has been involved in the past. And I said, you know what? You've got great ideas. Come back. So
Yeah.
perhaps she will.
Good.
So it was a really nice interaction. So something good came out of next door. So
Absolutely.
Well, I think she meant well, but the problem is
Oh.
that so many people from outside of the community read these things, and they have no idea, and they go, what the hell is going on in Franklin, And that's embarrassing to us, right?
yeah.
So, thank you.
So I will offer my thoughts as well on that. And Lord knows, the village, we're volunteers, right? Everyone works very hard at this. And, the tone of Eunice was a little bit condemning. But, and I don't think people realize, there's 3,000 of us in this village. We're not like a township with thousands and thousands of people. And I think if Eunice and others realized, you know what, come down here, get involved. There's a little town up north, Walloon Village on Walloon Lake. I've been familiar with that all my life. And it was this sleepy little village with a little tiny store. And it had tremendous potential. I mean, pretty much one person did this. He ended up buying a lot of the buildings, and they turned it into this really wonderful Walloon Village. And it's so similar to our little village here. So, I wish more people would realize that we're a community, we're a small community, and it doesn't take much. If we have landlords that aren't helping us out, it's like, by all means, we can figure out ways to buy these properties, It's not, and I'm not talking about, up Franklin Village.
And yet, we got Les Orbach and Rabbi Benzie together. I was part of that. He didn't know Rabbi.
Okay,
He
yep.
was concerned about the economic viability of the business. We helped
Can you
raise
talk at the
$100,000.
podium? Sorry.
There was a campaign put together by others that helped raise $100,000 to make this work.
I saw-
And I'm proud that we were involved in that. There are some major citizens in this community, aside from myself, who were involved in that campaign, and it was very successful, so.
Yep.
On the other hand, in that same exchange, somebody brought up the post office and said, why can't you get somebody to clean it up or talk to the landlord? And I'm thinking, well, the post office owns their own building. So I'm not sure outside.
It is privately owned.
It's
yeah.
privately owned.
Yeah.
It is, I thought it was owned by the post office.
Nope, it's privately owned, it's
Oh.
rented to the federal government
Oh,
for a
that's
post
interesting.
office.
So maybe
Yeah.
that is something we can
Yeah.
address.
Mr.
Very interesting.
Your turn. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
The public comment.
Still public comments. You're welcome.
Okay, great. Natalia Shoup. At this point, no address is needed, so I'm not going to follow the rules. If trustees do not follow, the residents should not follow. That's the bottom line here.
I'm here to hear your public comments, please.
Okay, so I would like to say one thing about that post and everything. Maybe the first thing we can look at is the requirements for the businesses. Let's say, Peter, remember you said someone gave an offer, we're thinking to buy Comerica Bank, but it was Animal Hospital. But because it was 24 hours, maybe there should be some, we should ease some restrictions on what is allowed. That would be maybe a first step for everyone, for the tenants and for the landlords. That's number one. Maybe to look into it. That would be a helpful thing. And number two, as far as opening Judaic studies and all of this, that the police had to be involved to protect and everything. I am Jewish. I value everything about that, but the real reason was because the ceremony was covering half of the road, Franklin Road, and there's no other way other than police is closing that roads. So to make that we are unsafe here in Franklin, someone will do something that is not right to do. I feel safe, and we have a great chief of police, we have a great department, and I would like to say that the only reason it was made, you can take a look at the pictures because it was taken half of the Franklin Road. So there's no more point to make those statements. So that would be my comment too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from public? Trustee Sally, since you weren't here during council liaison, you can either do that now or act as public comment.
I apologize for my lateness. My kids were stuck in the balloon animal line. So fortunately, we got a sword.
Did you
before
get balloons at least?
You can see we got
And
a
they
sword, we got a narwhal, I think, and a dog. Oh, it's a turtle, my bad.
Did they survive the trip up though? That's what I was worried about.
Oh,
And
yes,
can
they
we
did.
see them?
Hold them up.
Hold them up.
Please.
Nice, all right.
And the pup is in the car, so safely with air conditioning on, of course. And so, yeah, the one comment that I was thinking about is we are working on creating a strategy and priority meeting for the council members. And so I think that this is an extremely valuable conversation, not just about the parking study, but also for us to have a dialogue about whether or not we want the planning commission to look at what are some opportunities with buildings downtown, properties generally, restrictions that can open up the viability of businesses within the downtown. Because I think, you know, it's not lost on any of us in the room, anybody in leadership within Franklin, that is one of the top priorities for the village. And so whatever we can do, again, to help provide that clear direction, I'm happy to facilitate that conversation. I don't know whether or not, Pete, just in, again, for everybody, but just like your legacy of knowledge, Pete, if we've previously done a study around what are potential things that we can look at to help, not just restricted uses, but maintenance of buildings where you have, I know there are some instances where a lot of the obligations fall onto the renter rather than onto the landlord. And that can sometimes push people out into other communities. And so things like that I think would be extremely helpful. And like I said, happy to help facilitate that dialogue and provide the direction.
That's great. Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? All right. None of the three in the back that you guys are good with public comments? All right.
Balloon quality, anything?
Okay. Old business. All right. So we'll move on. So as you mentioned earlier about what went on with the historic district commission meeting.
Yes.
It was a very productive meeting. Chris, thank you for attending, as well as Sarah, Pete, and Linda.
What's her name?
Again,
Oh, what's her
Let's
face?
just do that.
remember, our seats were changed after 6 years. Like,
Yeah, you usually sit over here, so I wanted to call you Sarah. Musical chairs here, so thank you, Linda, also for attending that meeting. Basically, they were in agreement with regards to the setbacks we had talked about, but they provide some input and feedback with regards to fences, different from what we had proposed. So we'll talk about that in B. But for the first part, though, the historic district in A, we can go ahead and move on from there. So, so I guess at this point, we need to look at potentially update whether or not we want to update the ordinance on the setbacks, and then have a public hearing once we approve the verbiage. I don't know if there's anything additional that you would like to bring up, Chris, on that with regards to
No, I
that.
don't think so. I think if you want, you can probably schedule a public hearing. There's really no special verbiage that's required.
It's just change of numbers.
Right.
Okay, so, if we feel comfortable, having talked about it with the HDC, them feeling comfortable with it, if we feel comfortable with the verbiage from the memo we sent to HDC, which is regards to the, offsets, the setbacks that we talked about last month, and then, as long as the numbers line up similarly, we could have a public hearing on the setback updates for HDC, next month. I'm sorry, not HDC, for R3 district, next month. Is there any comments or questions or thoughts about that idea? Move forward on, at least on that portion of the R3 district.
So when you say that portion, you're referring to the setbacks?
Setbacks only, yeah, nothing fence related. So accessory buildings, spacing between the buildings, the 25 feet being switched down to the, no sum total, but just the minimum setback.
And that's what the HDC agreed with, what we sent them over? Okay. Well, if HDC agreed with it, I think there's no problem sending the setback updates over to, well, I guess the public hearing first.
We have to have a public hearing, right?
Yeah, so
So
I-
motion would be to.
my motion would be to set up for a public hearing with the setbacks as written and presented to HDC for public approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, comments? All right,
I'll do comments, I guess. So, you know, one thing I looked at was something called an overlay district for the historic district. I guess it's a possible note for future consideration. Chris, can you tell us a little bit, you know, what an overlay district entails? You know, my hope would be that it would allow some, you know, I know, Stuart, you were concerned that if we're gonna do something for R3, it needs to apply to all R3. I believe we do have some R3 that's not in the historic district.
There isn't,
There isn't any.
no.
So it wouldn't pertain to this anyway.
Pardon?
It wouldn't pertain to the historic then anyway.
well, no, all of R3 is in the historic district.
But that would be an example, if there was R3 that was outside of the historic district. That's where you might want to set up an overlay district, so that the changes to the setback regulations would apply only to the overlay, to the historic district.
Right.
But since the R3 district and the historic district boundaries are coterminous, there really isn't any need for an overlay district.
All right, fair enough. You know, my concern obviously is to, you know, protect the character of the historic aspects. And, you know, it's such a deep question of what, you know, what is our historic character, that it's hard to get a total handle on. I mean, I don't think we're gonna turn into, you know, no one's gonna be raising properties in that historic district, although we do have plenty of homes that aren't historic in the historic district. And there may be some thought that we could give to, you know, how a historic house is treated differently from a non-historic house that would encourage historic preservation. Aside from that, I have no other comments.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the non-conforming fence regulations. So for those that did not have a chance to attend HTC, so the main takeaway points from the HTC meeting, and fill in the blanks where I mess up, but the main takeaway is that for a fence ordinance, the things that the historic district are concerned with is a non-uniformity in fence structure in a single directional line. So, for example, picket fence to concrete, to a brick wall, to a chain link fence, or so, you know, all in the same stretch of the property, right?
Yeah.
So basically maintaining a uniform, and then when you turn the 90-degree, it could be something different, but it needs to be somewhat cohesive. It could be different height, it could be different, but the idea is
It needs to go
from the
to like
sight line.
It needs to go like a pillar before it changes the 90 degree to a different area.
Right, some sort of.
So that way at least is presentable.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, we have a lot of, I mean, the historic district is really, has a lot of variation, and it's very old. So that was one of the points, that, because of its age, because of the time frame when people were building things, they might have just done good enough. And as long as they got approval, they could do that at the time, because there wasn't any objection from an HDC or an ordinance at the time. So they could be legally non-conforming, but the point for them was, how do we, is there something that we can write into the ordinance that would allow it? Now, the challenge with that is, this is something that could easily be, I could see easily seeing applied across the village entirely. And then that becomes a headache as well, because if we make an exception for just the R3, then, or make an ordinance for just the R3, that can be part of one of the challenges. And then, let me add to the other point is the historic, HDC, Historic District Commission is also, is actually interested in allowing, or encouraging, not having a strip between, between two fences that share a property line, where using a common, what can,
Not being able to get a lot
shared
of-
fence.
a shared fence, but how do we
Encourage that?
either encourage it, or how do we, allow it? Now, I know that there's a few properties, that it really should not be encouraged because of hazard or safety from the proximity to a structure, whether it be a home or an accessory building. That's some of the things we have to consider as well. How do we word it in a way that there is some sort of safety factor required for a shared property line fence? And then the other point is that, we don't want to make we also need to worry about making an exception for, how the height and the opacity of the fence is along those property lines, because R3 are smaller lots, but they're not encouraging, high opacity, for fences. And so we have to, because that's a screen and not a fence. So those are the two main points that came up in the meeting with HCC.
Well,
Hold on, let's finish the points from the HCC, then we can comment. Is that all right? Okay, sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing about having if you do have two fences, it's gotta be far enough apart that the property can be mowed.
Right, and
So you're
maintained.
not, in doing this, creating
The no,
so at least 4 feet wide.
unsightly issue.
Yeah, so at least 4 feet wide.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, please. I'm sure I missed something.
Well, following the meeting, I reread the fence ordinance, and a couple of the issues that Gary raised are actually addressed in the fence ordinance already.
Okay,
For example, under 1268.28B, it says fence materials and construction pattern must be consistent along a single lot line, and fences constructed on properties where one did not exist before must be constructed of the same material along any lot line where the fence is proposed to be constructed. So that applies not just in the R3, but
across the village.
across the village.
Okay, good.
And then, with respect to being on the lot line, there's two provisions. Let's see if I can find them now. One is, location, a fence shall be located entirely on the private property of the person responsible for the construction and maintenance of the fence. Then there's another provision that if I can find it,
It's not in our packet. No.
no, if I could summarize it, I can't find it right now, but what it says is if you can get two property owners to agree, they can put it on the property line.
So that means they have to agree on material, height, opacity, whose side looks better than whose.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
so I
they,
mean,
then they
we,
file a joint application, then they can put it on the property line.
So that-
Otherwise, it has to be set on the person's property who's filing the application.
right,
ahead, Pete.
right. So that does address, it's not that it's not allowed. I guess his would kind of suggested that we should prohibit having, the no man's land between two fences.
Right.
'Cause
For the
we-
R3.
Okay.
Hey, right, is that what you're saying for R3 or just anywhere in the village?
It really needs to be, the wording needs to be everywhere,
It
honestly.
really does.
Because you
Right,
can't, you
it's
can't
un-
single, historic district can make it.
I wanted to finish hearing Pete's point, I'm sorry.
No, no, I,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, you know, our concern right now is R3. And, but I do believe it's a general issue. It's undesirable to have these alleyways between fences, that are not serviceable. But, you know, to me, the R3 is where it's the most pronounced, you know?
All right, so, sorry.
I was gonna say, you can't really enforce something with the shared property line unless it's wanted by both residents, and they work together to afford the shared cost of it. Cases have happened in the village where that is the case. And you can't, like I said, just do it in the R3, you would have to make it a village-wide thing. And the way to encourage something like that in the future is any fence that has been damaged, it needs to be repaired, that's been built before 2024, needs to follow the new guidelines with the help and guidance of the HDC.
Chris, on a totally different part to this, but as long as we're discussing it, is there anything in the code about spear top fencing? Is
Yes.
it allowed?
Yes, no, it is not.
No, it's not allowed.
It is not allowed.
Have to have flat tops all the way across, because we
Yeah.
have deer that like to jump it.
We know.
You know?
Trustee
No,
Goldberg and I had a severe case of deer kebabs last year,
Oh.
and it was
So-
ugly.
So
No,
you-
we had under Connie, we addressed that. No
Yeah,
pokey
I was
things
saying,
on the top of fences, you know.
Yeah.
Section,
But if you have them already in the grandfather day, so they're legally
Well,
non-conforming.
there's a case tomorrow.
Yeah, that's unpleasant to wake up to.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
yeah, that's addressed in the ordinance.
So,
Good,
um,
thank you.
they have to have a ball at least a certain diameter.
Right.
If it's a metal rail fence, a metal spike picket fence, then it has to have a ball on top that's a certain diameter
Right,
that's,
3 inches.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
yeah,
Great,
to
good.
prevent that.
So, I guess in terms of this, you know, so what we've talked about so far, you know, we're focusing on the R3 district fence issues. But any changes that we make would be village-wide, is that essentially?
Well, we would want to, my point is, if we make a change in the R3 district, we can, but if it makes sense to update village-wide,
Right.
try and minimize the number of exceptions we have in the village is probably helpful for code enforcement as well as for people interpreting the village ordinances.
Absolutely.
But we can do it, we can have,
We can.
right, R3, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah, you can.
these apply for R3 specifically,
There's 8 pages of fence regulations already.
right?
So with what you looked at and what I'm understanding from we left the meeting last month with the opinion that no changes to the fence ordinance, we should just enforce the fence ordinance that we have. And we took that to HCC, they made some comments or recommendations, it sounds like those were already considered in the fence ordinance anyway. So,
The one issue that is not, I don't think addressed is this opacity issue.
The what issue?
There is,
capacity,
Okay.
there are, Gary said, let's see if I can find his comment. It was a general comment. He says residential fences should have some degree of opacity. Now, there are different types of fences have different degrees of opacity in the fence regulations, but I'm not sure what he meant by that comment.
I think, well, my understanding is homes that back up to commercial and, properties, they have 100% opacity or some high level of opacity.
Right.
The homes that are strictly residential, or at least fences within that are strictly residential, they can maintain some level of opacity, but they cannot be 100% opaque unless they receive an exception from the zoning board of appeals. And so I know that in a few instances, where a home backs up to a commercial property and they continue the fence either on their property towards the road and, continue the fence, shared fence or fence similar to then they maintain the similar opacity because the look is similar. And if they turn the corner, in some cases, they might maintain it because the look is similar and it would just look out of joint if you went from full opacity to a lower fence that was not fully opaque. But in that case, they would have to still go through ZBA to get it approved. If it's not approved, then they have to pick some sort of fence that has some level of transparency, whether it's picketed but not stockade. So I don't know, I'm not 100% sure on the ordinance with regards to a percentage of gap required.
It differs for every type of
Type of
fence.
fence. right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like, I, for some reason, 35% is ringing out
And
to
40
me.
is sticking up in my head.
40 was the number I remember.
Well, I'm not sure if like it's
So
opacity.
37.5?
Well, I'm not sure if it's opacity for fencing or for carton,
Right.
so.
So, I don't know,
Garden enclosures, it's 20% opacity.
that's a garden enclosure though, that you don't,
Yeah,
you want light to
Right.
Yeah.
you want
to infiltrate your garden.
a,
Maybe they're a poor gardener, but if they go higher than 25%, it'll be revealed.
Well, it depends on what you're growing.
Depends on what you're growing. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we feel like we're gonna make some movement on the fence changes, or do you wanna continue to digest what we talked about with the HGC, or look into it another month
I kind of
for fences?
Yeah, I think we can ruminate a little bit.
Yeah, I can.
But I
digest
do
this.
have a question about screening. I've had a hard time finding references to screening. You know, it seems like screening is desirable and appropriate in some cases, but I haven't had any luck finding where that language is.
and that's not in the fence ordinance.
No,
That's,
and well, what's the question on screening? Just the definition of what we have, or what what
Something
expected?
like that, where,
Okay.
you know, when does a screen become a fence?
that's
kind of
in,
thing.
section 1268.29.
Okay.
And the part that I think we're most interested in is the part that says that when you have a commercial property next to a residential property, you need a wooden fence or a living fence or a masonry wall that's going to be 4.5 to 6 feet, 6.5 feet in height.
But that's to protect the homeowner from the view of the commercial property.
Correct.
But with regards to screening, I think, Thomas
Someone just passed this.
passed a printout
I'm
to
not
you.
sure which.
But this is for screening for residential, is that,
Yeah,
is that, okay.
This is our fence ordinances.
Is it the screening or fence?
Well, that's capacity, I just passed.
Oh,
Oh, pass.
Oh,
Very
that's,
fine.
yeah, that's,
There's a different, I think it's a different page you were given. There's a
Right.
different page of capacity.
Thank you.
okay.
I would, in terms of screening though, for properties that's not based on business, for more so for residential, I think it should be more so we have the encouragement of, if you want privacy screening, we should as a village encourage natural screening such as arborvitae's, barber bushes.
which is part of the screening.
Which is part of the screening, but it's natural
Right.
screening that can go up to 20 feet, but it also gives us the greenery that we desire for the village. So it solves both the immediate personal need of the resident,
So
and
that-
it doesn't break any
that-
violations.
Well, the screening also, it already includes that as an option from,
Yes, yeah, I'm saying that it should be more encouraged, like, oh, I wanna get a screen, you should get a tree.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would come up during site plan review.
Yeah, that'd be a site plan review, so that, yeah.
So, let's table this for next month to discuss more when we have more planning on fencing. Is that all right?
Yes.
We've given a good summary, I think, of what the HCC recommended. And then we'll definitely, I think, hopefully, we'll have more public at the public hearing next month, and we can have more comments about fences. We have a few people that show up. Thank you for coming and talking about it with us. But maybe we'll have some more ideas and thoughts as well from other villagers.
I'm myself, so I'm not asking for a public comment.
Okay.
You know, you guys know.
Are you good?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
You're welcome to give a comment before we close out this topic. If you,
Okay, I'll just briefly something new.
Come on, I'm gonna do it.
Something new, nothing.
So I was not able to come to the historic district meeting, but I watched, and as you just discussed, most of it already in our ordinances, regardless, R3 or overall. But I just want to remind everyone that in the whole village, 6-foot privacy fences are not allowed, only privacy screens. That's the bottom line. And if you would come to my flat roof and see the district, historic district, what I see, you would understand. Putting 6-foot privacy fences, and for 30 years, the ordinances have been written 30 years ago to not, so we don't have any more of those fences. And if you look, if we put now back in our ordinances, you would imagine small, irregular lots with these boxes of fences. Because when you think in historic district, it doesn't work like on regular lots. If it's, sometimes when you think, oh, this is the front, no, this can be a back. And then we have all around the whole properties everywhere. So it will not look good at all. And that's what was, we only have, as we discovered, 6 fences left. So I will discuss more at the meetings that you guys will propose. But again, please keep in mind, there is also number 7, Mr. Duzen, if there's number 7 also that is adjoining property lots, not just on a line, but how to, there should be a setback. If there's not enough space to maintain. And let me tell you, just recently, on August 7, we had an incident. The police had to be called because we have now less than one foot of our neighbor property behind the fence, and the weeds were 4 foot long. Not just the fence in our windows. Now this weed's 4 foot long in our windows and everywhere. And the neighbor decided, and village allowed, to spray with weed killer over the 6-foot privacy fence, which almost hurt our son, spraying in his eyes, and it hurt, and it damaged our property. So this is why we don't need changes the ZBA can handle. They handled for 30 years. They can handle the setbacks and everything. They take every individual case individually, and they make determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, thank you. So we'll move on now to regulation to control blight nuisance abatement. So, Chris, in our last meeting, we discussed the updating the table for council with regards to blight/nuisance abatement. And as you defined in our last meeting, that nuisance ordinances are typically what take care of what our largest concerns about these. And I appreciate you adding the column that says whether or not an ordinance is covering the type of nuisance and the description of that nuisance, in addition to what is covered and which ordinance covers that nuisance. Would you like to go ahead and give an overview? I feel comfortable, well, let's talk about it a little bit, but I feel comfortable with sharing this level to council. But go ahead, please.
Well, as you mentioned, I added the 3rd column, and so basically, what it says is whether the particular nuisance is addressed in the village code or is not addressed in the village code. So for example, inoperable junk or abandoned motor vehicles, yes, that is addressed in section 1268.14. Inoperable recreational vehicles, equipment, and watercraft, 1268.14E3 deals only with operable recreational vehicles, so that particular issue is not addressed. Parking and storage of commercial vehicles in residential districts, that is addressed in 1268.14D.
Let me pause you right there. Do we want to go through every single one of these tonight, or are we okay with the additions he's made?
I'm okay with the additions he's made. The third column is exactly what I wanted. It shows that we have 10 types of nuisances not addressed in our codes, and I think we should focus on those 10 as opposed to the entire list, because they're already not.
Well, we're gonna send these to council and ask them if they want us to address them.
Trustee Sally, is that something you'd like us?
Yeah, I think that this is in a very good stage, so thank you, Chris, for the work, for us to be able to do, to at least facilitate a conversation of where do we have coverage, where don't we? And then that way we can start to, you can introduce it at the next meeting, we can have a conversation around it, and then hopefully either within that meeting or the meeting following, we can provide specific, here's where we think coverage would be appropriate or where we want to expand coverage compared to where we wouldn't. And then that way you guys can focus more narrowly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
Second. Yes.
There's one thing that's not on there, and I know it's been an issue in the past, which is number of vehicles parked in a driveway. Because even if they're operable, there are homes where on a daily basis, I'm seeing 8, 10 vehicles parked in front of the house. And I kind of feel like that needs to be addressed.
I think we do have, we did review this a few years
I
ago.
thought so,
Yeah.
but
It's
that should be, I mean, to me, that would be a nuisance.
We're not talking about
Commercial vehicles.
commercial vehicles.
No, I'm
You're
not
talking about
talking,
residential.
I'm talking about pleasure, whatever
You're-
you call them, but there,
Everyday vehicles.
there is one house I've been driving by frequently, and I have never gone by there. There were less than 8 cars in the driveway.
If they fit all in the driveway,
But they're off
though,
in the
right?
driveway, that's really what it is, that's the driveway's for.
But, I mean, I would think that there should be some limit to the number of vehicles that can be parked for longer than.
We should talk to council
24
about
hours.
that
Yeah,
one.
I was gonna say, my driveway can fit 5 vehicles.
Well, just because you can
It's up
fit
the hill
them.
around, I think most we did was like 18, but yeah.
I mean, I wish that my neighbors fit more vehicles on that driveway and have people visiting, because otherwise, park in my yard.
But I'm talking about, this is not, I don't care if somebody has a party or something, but that I would think that to some neighbors, it would be a nuisance having to look at on a daily basis that many cars parked in their driveway.
Are they all licensed?
They have-
If they're not licensed, then I believe that
think
falls under the
I'd be
ordinance.
more focused on, are there any complaints coming from the neighbors to the village
I don't
about
know.
them? Because if there's not, I don't think it'd be a thing that needs to be addressed unless you're a next door neighbor in the 8 car location.
I don't know, I just,
But you're also coming from a perspective of a real estate agent who,
Yes.
if you try and sell a property adjacent to that, and you are looking at how many buyers or how many people would be turned off by moving to our village because their next door neighbor has X number of cars.
But you could also increase the price if you find a guy that's a car guy and wants to live next door to him.
well, but,
It's not as many.
I just,
Oh, I got
I think that for some people, that would be an issue. I mean, 8 to 10 people going in and out and starting their cars
Well, we
and
don't-
coming in, and, I don't know. I think that,
I think it's hard to enforce because let's say you have 8 people living in a house and they're all family. They're all drivers and they all drive to work. Like where,
yeah,
like they're not in the streets, is what I'm saying. Like at least in the
Yeah.
driveway, not blocking the residential roads. It's tough.
I understand your point, and I think that,
And I'm just giving you a hard time just for argument's sake. That's,
stand in line. But,
we should switch seats. I don't want to be in the middle of this.
I need my chair back.
No, I think, but good work, Chris. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to like cut you off, but
No, that's okay.
but I also,
I think the one issue is whether you want a more comprehensive nuisance section in the ordinance rather than have all these disjointed things throughout the code.
Yeah.
yeah,
A
right.
cohesive, what is a nuisance ordinance?
No, and I think that's something that, I think your recommendation to us is also the recommendation we make to council, right? Which is basically a comprehensive nuisance abatement ordinance that covers these items, rather than having to look everywhere for which ordinance, can we consolidate?
Right.
Yeah, I think the problem we ran into before with this is that, with commercial vehicles, there were 2 or 3 locations that Sarah Traxler found that talked about commercial vehicles, and when the code ordinance person went to go talk to the family that was in violation, or the home that was in violation, they pointed to another ordinance that allowed what they were doing, and the other, whereas the ordinance that was being cited against the commercial vehicle, that was sitting there overnight for long periods of time, the ordinance officer basically said, I don't know what to do because the ordinance isn't clear. And so we had to basically remove a whole section of our ordinance because it was split apart. So, I think, making sure that when we do a comprehensive nuisance abatement, if we do that, if council directs us to do that, making sure we extract out properly all of any potential contradictions. So,
Do you think just sending this letter to council, or should I address one that's addressed specifically to council?
I think this is fine as is.
I think it's fine as is. It's the recommendation made to planning commission. I can, as representative, or someone else wants to represent for me, as representative from planning commission, share this with council and go from there. I don't think that this is, I don't think there is, I don't know what we would need to really change to make it markedly different
Okay.
for them. I think they get the idea. It also gives them some insight as to how our process goes, and they can read it, what we received as well.
Very good.
So, I think that's fair. Thank you, this is good work. It definitely, I think it meets the spirit of what was being asked of us, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so next agenda item,
Meeting to adjourn?
any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nobody opposed?
Nobody opposed.
So,
So tomorrow-